Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's your Uncle Rogan. I'm about to go out and run some errands, do some things. I thought I would check in first because I had thoughts. Uh, what was my I'm gonna say this backwards because the first thing I wanted to say is just thank you. It's it's something of an exaggeration to say that I haven't had friends in the real world for 8 years, maybe 10 years. Uh, but it's close. I think it's 9 years since we made Gator Green. No, it might be longer. In any case, when I moved to Tampa with my daughter after my wife left, 2013, 2014. So it's been since then, basically. It's such a run of bad luck in Tampa that I don't even. I mean, I had some friends in Tampa. They're all dead. Uh, Different stories. Someone disappeared, actually. Not all dead. In any case, I until my health collapsed, and I moved here to Ohio, and I'm living with two old friends who took me in my dire necessity. Two guys who are brothers who own their house. They live here in Lima, Ohio, and that's how I ended up here. I've known them for 30 years. So I have old friends around now, and I've been talking to a couple of people regularly, making friends again, like a normal person on the phone in the real world. It's slow, hard work because I spent so long so convinced that friendship and love are not accessible to me in normal senses. And that's in part because they never have been in some senses. I'm naturally an angry and sad person. I said this in a video not long ago. I'm wired this way, and I think it's because of damage to my nervous system. I can be content uh, and working hard and seeing the work get done and get done well while I do it is basically the closest thing to happy I get without. Um, now, now I'm subject to moments of euphoria and breakthrough moments of happiness, like the sun coming out from a dark sky. I'm not depressive. I just don't think it's trying to be happy has never served me well. Letting it happen naturally while I do my thing is more appropriate to who and what I am. But it comes up a lot because now I'm really depressed all the time because my health problems and my problems with my family, particularly Rad, have just overwhelmed me. I'm slowly recovering mentally at about the same pace as my heart seems to be recovering. Um, and I wanted to say thank you to you. There's really only a few people here who interact regularly. Probably a couple dozen more watching regularly. It seems like. Uh, I uh, I guess the day before yesterday or the day before that. I don't know. Two of you who watch all of these videos both commented that you don't want me to die. I think the one that had said something about dying in the name. Uh, I don't. It can't be possible that no one in the real world has told me since this health nightmare started last year that they don't want me to die. Certainly, multiple people must have said that to me clearly and directly, uh, but it feels like they haven't. Um, and I mean, in person, it's a little different. You don't want to argue with me. Uh, so thank you. It's really hard for me to remember that my existence itself isn't necessarily intrinsically a burden depending on circumstances. Uh, I've spent way too much of the last stretch of my life being told that it was. I haven't talked in these videos much about the family problems that left me in Tampa with Red, and I'm probably never going to talk much about Red because I love her and I don't want to have to say negative things about her. And I'm just going to leave it at that as much as I can. But it's weird how the internet. So I had this cluster of thoughts before I hit record here that I wanted to try to express, and I'm not sure I can express it right. Um, being so I'm not naturally as depressive as these videos make it seem. The more recent ones, where I clearly have this sort of like there's an intense and positive energy Rogan, and there's a sad and mopey Rogan. They're they're pretty tied to my heart right now, but that's about how I normally am. I have moments of harsh doubt, but mostly I'm a little bit manic, a little bit too angry in energy to be a happy energy, but positive. Um, in the real world, here I let that show because it's serving as therapy for me, and this framework is serving as family and friends and support and guidance, the way that being surrounded by close friends, close associates, and loved ones would and should under normal circumstances. I don't know anyone in Lima yet. We'll see how normal my circumstances get or don't. Uh, um, there's this weird. Okay, so this word parasocial I've been hearing a lot lately. I think I haven't looked it up, but it seems like people are using it to describe basically any online relationship that doesn't have a real world uh, element. So, like, at least so far, everyone who's commented on these posts, these videos, it's parasocial. Most of the time when people comment on my posts at Facebook, it's parasocial. But some of those people I've known 10, 15 years now. So I don't know how parasocial that is. I mean, I'll recognize them when I see them in a room if I ever do. Um, but the ways in which that's different from real world interactions are not yet very well understood or thoroughly understood by anyone, it seems like. Uh, and one thing about that is you you get this weird thing when you're battling depression. Uh, and I'm finding it frustrating now because the reasons I'm depressed now, about 20% philosophical, about 80% physical health and personal problems. So I don't know if that really counts as depression. If you're are you if you're crying because somebody's beating you over the head, is that depression? Uh, so so there's this weird dynamic that exists in the real world where there's a certain kind of vampire energy vampire friend who has emotional problems, who just needs people to listen to them pour out their emotional problems, and they will occupy 2 or 3 hours of a day of your life 3 or 4 times a week if you let them, just being sad and rejected and resentful about everything because it's just their natural demeanor, and they need somebody to listen to them, but listening to them is draining and damaging, and after a while you realize you can't really do or say anything to help. It's a mental health issue. They can medicate themselves quiet and leave you alone, or you can try to be their friend, and eventually you'll realize that all these personal problems they talk about, all these issues, it's really them. They're the issue. um, here here on the internet, that dynamic just isn't at all the same. Like, this thing I'm doing with these videos is like keeping a diary and letting the world read the diary. But the world that's reading the diary only includes a very few people I actually know. I'm sure there's 5 or 10 people who are sort of prowling around the edges of these videos who know me, checking in every now and then to see what I'm saying in these videos. Got 1 or 2 friends. I sometimes mail them links to them. They may be watching all these videos. Uh, Maybe they aren't directly interacting with me. I mean, I'm well aware that the main reason anybody watches these videos is I'm fairly pleasant to look at and listen to, and I say smart things well phrased, and so it's intellectually and emotionally soothing just to let my videos wash over you. And then there's this comment, this dimension of the actual content of what I'm saying. And like I said, that's where it's more like real world friendships and support networks. Um, but insofar as I'm just saying negative things almost all the time, uh, you, you don't have to listen. Like, you can consider yourself my friend and fan and watch me talking about depressive, negative things until you're done. And then before you get totally fucking fed up with me, you can shut it off. There's nothing forcing you to ingest this peculiar dish until you are full and then keep eating until you are sick. It's not like that here. It just doesn't structurally work that way. And there's definitely this effect I've had with YouTubers and other people on YouTube where it's like reading an author. I'll get sick of somebody's content and just stop checking in for a while, and then after a couple of months the YouTube algorithm will remind me that I haven't caught up with them for a while, and half the time I start catching up with them again. That is utterly unlike real world relationships outside of certain kinds of professional circles. um, and and it's a straight improvement. I mean, I've been talking to my friend Rhonda a lot on the phone, and it's been incredibly helpful and vitalizing. The conversations I've been having with her, I've known her forever. I've known her for like 20, 25 years. Um, and she's put up with me being really depressed at her a few times over the last few months. And she's, you know, put up with it, but not very much of it, because mostly I take it out here. I make a 5-minute video where I'm on the verge of tears and talking about how I want to be dead, and I don't have any reason to think about that or say anything about it for the next couple of days. The comments, it's just 3 or 4 people will comment and say, feel better. We want you to feel better. And it works. I mean, that's just all I needed from anybody here. And I don't have to bother anybody standing next to me with my emotional moments of weakness. And like I said, it's sort of getting it out of your system. It's like getting aggression out by beating a punching bag. Um, it's not at all the same dynamic as the I mean, and here's the thing. If I were the guy, I'm thinking of a specific guy whose name I would give away. I can't remember his name. This guy in Hattiesburg, Mississippi in the 90s, spent a lot of time at the International House of Pancakes, which was the only 24-hour coffee shop in Hattiesburg at the time and was near where I lived. So I'd wander in and out in the middle of the night a lot. And there's one specific guy, I can still remember what he looks like. Uh, in theory, a nice guy, sweet guy, kind of smart. I don't remember anything about what he did other than complain about life, because that's all he did. He'd hang out at IHOP from like 1 a.m. to 4 or 5 a.m. and smoke cigarettes and complain about his family and his personal life and girlfriends, mostly girlfriends, to anyone who would listen for hours on end. Like, he just didn't have anything positive to say about anything. He always, like these videos I make where it seems like I'm in a moment of crisis and doubt and I'm on the verge of tears and I'm suicidal. He was just in that state all the time. And it didn't, like, you didn't see him in other moods. It never let up. So, but even if I was that guy and I never had videos where I talk about other things other than being sad and lonely and my wife fucked me over and my family fucked me over and my daughter's crazy and life is shit. Like, if every moment I had was one of those moments, you don't have to take more than you want to take, even morally or ethically. If you have the idea that you're supposed to help anyone who is in distress, who crosses your path, and I kind of do actually have that idea. The internet diffuses the communication at both directions in such a way that you don't like, in the real world, you see somebody passed out in a pool of blood on the sidewalk, and you think to yourself, I'm busy and I'm not getting involved. Somebody else will help. And you just step over and walk on. That is something to feel guilty about. It's in the real world. Here, should you see that going on in one of my videos or some equivalent of it, you know there are other people who will act. There is no necessity for you to directly do a thing, and there's no necessity for you to feel bad for not being the guy who steps up. And it's like this with, I mean, the last year, my medical problems have forced me to borrow and beg cash and cash-based resources from my friends I'm probably, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 in debt, I guess. personal debts, most of which those people will waive because it's either online just handouts from random people, or it's close personal friends. Mostly it's just like I did say at Facebook that I'm about to start starving to death and the cats are out of food and two or three people will kick in $20 each. um, Parasocial relationships. There's no need for the ones who don't help to feel bad or feel guilty or resent that I need the help. None of those real world dynamics applies to the internet dynamic. You don't have to be like, man, that fucking guy is so fucking needy, because I'm not needy at you. I don't need anything from you personally. You can just let it go. You don't even have to listen to me finish saying what I'm saying about what I need. And this is true across the internet with all internet relationships. There's a network. There's always a network. You are individually addressing what you're looking at and interacting with, and yet you're not. You're part of a team. You're always part of a team. And in being a content creator, even me with 100 followers now, which is cool actually, um, that this content I'm creating is never a one-on-one interaction. It's never ever going to be a one-on-one interaction. It's just not. And so a lot of the obligations uh, and the ideas about obligations that we attach to these kinds of relationship dynamics, they don't have anything to do with what we do here on the internet. There are things you don't have to feel bad about that real world interactions have uh, always required us to feel bad about. And there are things that we don't have to resent that real world interactions have always um, tended to foster resentment towards. This is a different kind of space. And so, well, that's very cute. Look, one of them is trying to go into heat. I really got to get them fixed. Maybe the next couple of days I'll catch up with that. Geez, I think that is all the thoughts I wanted to cover. I don't know. The coffee and vitamins are giving me a sort of accelerated thinking thing this morning. I'm not sure. I'm a little manic. I feel like I left something out. I got to start streaming, and then I can talk for hours and hours, and it'll be great. It'll be great. I'll just keep talking and talking and talking.